All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a framework that suggests something absolutely game-changing. It's this idea that every single person has a preserved, inherent capacity to not just survive a crisis, but to actively champion every situation. You know, when global turbulence hits, our default is almost always panic. But what if a crisis doesn't actually strip you of your agency? What if instead it just exposes a massive vacuum that your unique capacity is quite literally meant to fill? We're going to break down exactly how to transform from a passive observer of all this chaos into an active architect of real solutions. To really anchor our explainer today, we're looking at this fascinating command given right in the middle of a historical text about global turbulence. See to it that you are not alarmed. Now that forces a complete mindset shift, doesn't it? Because when the world is shaking, it is so incredibly easy to obsess over the question, why is the world breaking down? But this idea challenges us to pivot entirely. Instead of panicking, we need to be asking, how do I remain a source of peace, generosity, and truth while it does? It's all about recognizing that you are meant to be the anchor when things get choppy. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the 3 reactions to crisis, the strategic stewardship blueprint, monetizing preparation, not panic, value exchange and wealth transfer, earning influence through competence, and finally, the modern innovators framework. Let's jump in. Section 1, the 3 reactions to crisis. Okay, so when a global crisis strikes, and that could be an economic downturn, a massive supply chain failure, or major social upheaval, human beings generally default to a couple of highly predictable, reactive mindsets. They really split into 2 main camps. On one side, you have the disaster mindset. This is your classic panic, despair, and that sudden overwhelming urge to hoard a lifetime supply of toilet paper, right? It's the instinct to build a bunker out of pure fear. Then, on the other side, we have the hope mindset. Now, this looks a bit better on the surface. It involves optimistic waiting, maybe offering some comforting words to neighbors, but fundamentally, it involves zero action. It's passively sitting back and just hoping things magically improve. Both of these reactions, frankly, force us to surrender that inherent capacity we have to actually champion the situation. But there is a hidden third way. And honestly, this is the absolute crux of our explainer today: strategic stewardship. This completely bypasses both the panic and that passive hope. Strategic stewardship is simply the recognition that turbulence creates a massive vacuum, and whoever steps up to actively provide the solution to that chaos won't just survive it. They're going to naturally inherit wealth, influence, and a massive following. Crises do not strip us of our agency. They just reveal a vacuum that our capacity is meant to fill. Passive faith has to transform into active, kingdom-style entrepreneurship. Section 2. The Strategic Stewardship Blueprint. So, what does this actually look like in practice? Well, let's examine a really famous historical case study: Joseph. It's vital to view him not just as a guy who survived a macroeconomic collapse, but as the ultimate entrepreneurial archetype for creatives and innovators. He didn't just weather the storm of a massive regional famine. No, he completely re-architected the entire economic system through it. He is basically the ultimate example of someone using their preserved capacity to champion a horrific situation. Let's break down exactly how he pulled this off. Section 3, monetizing preparation, not panic. This brings us right to the first strategic pillar of this blueprint: monetizing preparation. When Joseph got the insight that a severe famine was coming, he didn't run to that disaster mindset we talked about. He didn't just build a bunker to save himself and his immediate family. Instead, he took immense systemic action. The guy built a national logistics network. During the 7 years of economic abundance, he actively collected a 20% tax on grain and centralized it all. He built the storehouses way before the drought ever hit. So, as an innovator listening to this right now, you have to look at shifting trends and ask yourself, what asset is being totally taken for granted right now? When the next big shakeup happens, what is going to become the premium currency? Maybe it's data, maybe it's essential commodities, or perhaps it's community networks or alternative financial structures. Whatever it is, your job right now is to identify it and start building your storehouses before the crisis hits. Section 4, value exchange and wealth transfer. Let's look at the second pillar here, the actual mechanics of how capital shifts during a crisis. What's really fascinating is the highly structured progression of wealth transfer. During that historical famine, when the rest of the world ran out of food, they went to Egypt. And according to the historical account in Genesis 47, Egypt acquired the wealth of the region in 3 very specific steps. Step 1 was money. People bought grain until literally all the silver was depleted and sitting in Pharaoh's treasury. Step 2 was assets. When the money dried up, people traded their livestock and horses for food. And finally, step 3 was equity. People traded their land and their own labor to the state in exchange for mere survival. You see, wealth transfer in a crisis isn't just some random accident. It follows a very predictable progression. Now, the crucial takeaway here is that this wasn't exploitation, it was a massive value exchange. Because Joseph had the foresight to hold the only viable asset that solved an immediate, critical pain point, the natural laws of economics dictated that global wealth would inevitably transfer to his administration. As a creative entrepreneur today, this means that if you build a business model that solves a critical pain point during market turbulence, market share and capital will naturally and organically migrate right to you. Section 5. Earning influence through competence. We've talked a lot about preparation and capital, but how is true leadership and influence actually established in turbulent times? Well, look at this. Joseph didn't get people to follow him by preaching a nice sermon or asking politely. He got the entire region to follow him by executing a logistical solution that literally prevented mass starvation. He earned his followers through sheer, undeniable competence. Here is the absolute truth. In a crisis, people drop ideology. Fast. They don't care about your personal philosophy. They are looking for execution. Even Pharaoh, a pagan king who didn't share Joseph's worldview at all, looked at him and recognized an indispensable spirit and administrative excellence. Your innovation becomes your platform. When you create solutions that actually protect and sustain people during a downturn, the public will willingly grant you influence. Why? Because you stepped into your inherent capacity to champion their problem when everyone else was busy panicking. Section 6. The Modern Innovators Framework. So, how do we make all of this actionable for us right now? Well, we have to start by asking, where are modern systems breaking down? To move from simply hoping things get better to actively pioneering solutions, we have to look around. We see vulnerabilities everywhere, right? In institutional trust, in decentralized finance, in mental health, in our energy grids, in global food supply chains. This is exactly where you are meant to apply your capacity to champion the situation. We call this the Joseph filter. It's all about mapping ancient logistics directly onto modern entrepreneurial strategy. Let's walk through it together. First, what is the famine? Meaning, in your specific industry, where are the systems breaking down right now? Second, where are your granaries? What exactly are you building today that can store value or provide solutions when those systems inevitably fail? And third, what is your 20% strategy? Just like Joseph taxed the years of abundance, how are you leveraging your current resources today to fund the innovation that is going to scale during the coming turbulence? This leaves us with a very clear, very urgent mandate. We are not just meant to comfort the broken, we are called to outthink the crisis. Don't just sit around predicting the rain. Literally anyone can complain about the clouds gathering, right? Your job is to build the silos. Remember, you have this preserved capacity to champion whatever comes next, but it absolutely requires strategic action today. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. The turbulence is a given. History tells us it always comes, but when it hits, will you be reacting out of fear, hiding away in a bunker that you built just for yourself? Or will you be stepping into your capacity, throwing open the doors to a granary you prepared, totally ready to offer the exact solutions the world desperately needs? The choice between just surviving and actually championing the crisis, well, that's entirely yours.